Hey everybody. Don't mind my hair. It's kind of messy because I had showered today and I always let my hair dry, like air dry, so it's kind of floofy. I feel like Hermione whenever I get out of the shower. Um, my voice is all sorts of messed up because I've been sick. I had some food poisoning, so I was not feeling good the past couple days. So I didn't do any any videos at all yesterday or the day before. I was worried actually because I had registered to go to a Powell's book event on like in a virtual book event, and I registered like last week, and I had no idea if I'd actually be able to make it. I thought I wouldn't be able to make it because it would be late, much later at night time, around the time that I'd be putting the boys to bed usually. Uh, but instead I spoiled them with Burger King and said, "Here, go have fun, and if you go to bed later tonight, you just go to bed later tonight. I want to go to this book event." But I was also worried because I got sick like 2 days before, and I was like, "Oh, okay. Hopefully, I can still be well enough to make it." I was just well enough. My stomach still feels kind of messed up, but but I'm getting there. I'm okay. Um, Anyway, so I will have a link to the video from Powell's. I did not know that they had their own video, like YouTube channel. I had no idea. I loved Powell's whenever I was visiting Oregon. Like I I went to Portland exactly once. But I loved like hearing about Powell's when I wasn't around from friends who visited frequently. And there were a couple times when friends went and they found a book and they shipped it to me. So I was really excited. I just love Powell's. Like I went in there once and absolutely loved it. I technically any bookstore I go into, especially secondhand or used bookstores, I absolutely love those. You can find so many gems there for a fraction of the price. So I always love just anything with books, okay? Anything with books. If you know me, I'm a huge book nerd, yeah. Anyway, I have never actually been to a book event ever. I mean, the closest that I came to was literally getting to meet Neil Gaiman and Brian Froud at San Diego Comic-Con in 2006. Is it 2007? I think it's actually 2007. Yeah, because that was the year that I injured my ankle horribly through a really dumb accident. I won't go into that right now. If I went into every single accident or accident prone instance I've had, we'd be here forever. Anyway, but so I was injured. So it was yeah, 2007. And the reason I have a pen is because I have a pad of paper and I was literally writing during this book event. That's how nerdy I am. And then I did actually get to meet Jim Butcher 2008 at San Diego Comic Con, and I got a couple books signed from him. One was to when I still talked to him, a friend named Hobbit, or that was his nickname, Hobbit, and then mine being Pokey. And if you knew me from middle school on, Pokey is my nickname. No, I'm not going to go into how that came to be, but anyway, so yeah, that's the closest I came to a book event, is literally getting something signed by authors at a Comic-Con. I've never been to an actual book event in person or virtual. And I've never done anything virtual via Zoom, so it just, I almost said tunes, but Zoom. So I had no idea how the settings work. My computer was fritzing. If anyone has the potential for actual magic in their lives, it's gotta be me, because technology hates me. I don't know how I even get to record half the things I do on my phone because technology hates me. So I was like fiddling with it halfway through, and I don't know if they actually record your actual face. I don't think so. They were recording it, but they yeah, so basically like they record, I think, the like their images or like their video or whatever, but like they don't record our video so that you don't see who's actually part of it. And you're able to answer questions through Q&A or the regular chat. I asked 3 and they actually were all answered. I was really excited. I was super excited. I feel kind of bad because I know there's some really good questions on there. I can't tell you all the questions, but there are some really good ones. Some of them were repeated because I think people came on a little later and didn't see that someone had already asked that question. So things like the process or things like writing process or things about like certain characters or things like that. Which, by the way, I didn't announce it at the beginning of this video, but this is for Dead Man's Hand. So James J. Butcher and then his father, Jim Butcher, was doing the interview. So that was really exciting. I love seeing that. I love seeing when there's kind of like this continuation, and you can tell, like, I mean, at least it seems like it to me that they have a pretty awesome relationship. So there's times when James would say something specific and Jim would just laugh like hysterically, like, this was awesome. Like, oh, I can see that answer being yes, that's correct. Mostly on the nerd scale, because he definitely talked about like D&D and magic and stuff. And of course, me not being into those, I didn't understand what James was saying about blue deck or green deck. So I understand bits and pieces when people talk about bards and about like, oh, so and so did such and such damage of blah blah blah, and you know, adventure blah blah blah. Like, people say things like that and I'm like, oh, I kind of get it, but decks, no, that's beyond me. But yeah, they were definitely talking about a lot of nerd stuff, so I like that. There were some random questions about like Chuck E. Cheese and Batman and Black Widow, or not Black Widow, Captain Marvel versus Scarlet Witch and things like that. So there's some good, like a bit of you know, some random questions that are pretty awesome. But I want to go over the questions that I had. I was literally writing down like when he was, well, for the publishing question, I was writing down like, okay, he said this, he said that. And not because I think he is the ultimate master and he would have exactly all of the answers to this question. I asked this question of every author, whether it was in person or like through a messaging thing. I've never been to a book event like this, but I've asked those kinds of questions like online, and most of the time it's authors that are Kindle authors, like indie authors. So I just switched around and said traditional publishing in this sense because he did traditional publishing instead of doing like Kindle, posting through Kindle, like publishing through Kindle. I mean, I have a couple books of my own on Kindle, but they're from years ago. They're not, they wouldn't really classify as books. They're really qualified more as like short novellas. Like they're barely novella, you know, for word count and stuff. So my thing is just like, I just did a couple indie publishing things a couple years ago, and maybe like 2 people or 3 people have bought one of them over the years. I didn't try for marketing very much though. It was just more of a, I want to see if I can do this, so I did it. But I asked this question of any author if I remember talking to them. So I asked like, what's your like most and least favorite parts of the process in traditional publishing? And he did say like, take my answer with a grain of salt. Because he's like, he had a pretty decent experience, and it's probably due to having an author father and having, you know, a kind of lead in a way, which is fine. I mean, if you want to utilize that stuff, then by all means, like that's great. But he mentioned like editing, like having a great editing team is like the favorite part. And I'm just like, yeah, I would really want a good editing team as well. He did mention, like, someone asked about beta readers, and he's like, yeah, I didn't really have beta readers for this one, but I may in the future. And we were all like, we could be beta readers. I mean, himself, like, I offer myself as tribute. Like, I will totally do that because I'm such an avid reader. Like, I would totally be a beta reader for something. Because like, I read constantly. It's not just that I write and want to publish traditionally one day of my bigger, more epic fantasy stuff, but I read all the time. So yeah. And then he said the least favorite was like the time element from like selling the book to actual publishing, because it is a long process. And I've looked heavily into the research of publishing traditionally because, well, I want to do that one day. It's nowhere near in sight for me right now because I'm a single mom working full time and have a mountain of debt and all sorts of fun stuff going on. So there's no way that I could like get things done in a very timely fashion. Like I try to write a little bit, even if it's just a sentence every day, because it will add up. But yeah, I've looked heavily into the route of traditional publishing and tips and tricks. And because through my company, I'm able to have a free LinkedIn account, like as far as, you know, doing all those videos. So I've done quite a few of those videos when it comes to writing and publishing and character development, stuff like that. So I've done a lot of those videos. Probably going to do some more now, like soon, because I've just been doing a lot of random ones. But yeah, I've looked into that. So seeing that, yes, from the time that you actually sell the book to the time it's actually published and in people's hands, it can be a while. So I totally commensurate with him that I would not be very patient. I would be very frustrated personally because I'm just like, oh, like I want this to happen now. So I can sympathize. Like I haven't gone through it myself, so I can't really empathize completely, but I can sympathize where I can understand that could be terrifying and upsetting and frustrating all at once. So yeah, I can see that. I did take notes actually when people were talking about world building and character development, and he mentioned world building. Like I took notes. Okay, that's how much of a dork I am. I took notes during this book event. But I do this with any videos I see on YouTube or any videos I see on Instagram. I'm actually I follow on Instagram screenwriting. Gosh, my mind's blanking. I can't remember his name. I'll look it up and I'll put it in the comment, like the description below. But I also follow the screenwriter. I think he has some YouTube videos too, but I mostly follow him on Instagram. And he gives some really great advice that, although I don't want to do screenwriting, he has great advice for writing in general. So, I mean, I write notes on that too, okay? Anyway, he's talking about don't like restrain yourself in like writing, like, you know, try to go after what makes the elements matter to your character and setting. I know there's a lot more than that, but I was like doing shorthand writing. I did ask about one of his characters in Dead Man's Hand. James, I asked for Wudge because he's my favorite character. And I talked about like what was the inspiration for Wudge, and you know, are we going to see more of them, like more of them? Because I don't know if it's really a he or she, because I don't think they really described that in the book. I'll have to go back and reread it. I got halfway through rereading it and then I got distracted by another book because I've got like 5 different Kindles open and I've got like 3 physical books that I'm in the middle of reading. So I'll have to go back and see, because I don't think James described Wudge as a he or she. It was a them, which is fine. But anyway, so I was wondering, like, will we see more of them in future books? And he mentioned how that was like someone was really excited about that character. So he's like, yeah, I was going to have that character in there anyway, but it was really popular. So yeah, I'm going to continue. But sadly, James did not say what the inspiration for Wudge was. Wudge was. Say that 5 times fast. I'm not going to, but... but say that 5 times fast. I think, well, there was time constraints. I mean, like he was talking for like an hour. So there was like a bit of an intro from Powell's books, and then Jim got right into interviewing James, and then they were taking questions. I did try to follow along in general. I mean, they are going to have their video up. You know, Powell's will have their video up soon. So I will post this after they've done that, so then I can have the link to their video. But yeah, he didn't really talk about the inspiration for Wudge. I was kind of sad. I was like, I want to know what prompted you to have that, like specifically Wudge, because if you read the books, you know, Wudge is volatile as a character. He brings out what you would assume is a very uncanny character. Anything Fae related, it's not rainbows and happiness with fairies, okay? Real fae, like you dive into the mythology, there's always a bit of darkness, and Wudge personifies the darkness of fae in his character, and I love that so much. I was like, yes, I need that. I mean, there's a bit of adult themes and other things in the book, but Wudge just, he is the personification of what dark and uncanny is supposed to be. But at the same time, he's also kind of chaotic and all over the place, and I really love his interactions with Grimsby the most. And I wonder what the inspiration for Wudge as his character was. But yeah, I think his time constraints, and that's why he didn't answer fully on that. And then I asked the question, how hard was it to essentially, well, this is not verbatim, right? Because I wrote this down kind of after I asked the question, and I already clicked leave, so I forgot to write down the question after I typed it in. But I was like, basically, it's like, how hard was it essentially torture Grimsby? Like, it's difficult for me to do that to my characters. I mean, yes, it's going to further the story, but it's difficult for me. Like, there are moments when I'm crying, and I'm just like, I don't want to do this. I don't want, but this is what is needed for the story. And then also, some of my main characters get tortured, horrible things, they suffer horribly, but that also reflects some of my life experiences. So sadly, like, that's, I mean, it does further the story, but sadly it's I feel it's needed because one of the main characters is based off of like me, like a lot of me. And the suffering that she goes through from a young age kind of reflects my real life situations and things that I went through. So it, I mean, that's hard too, because it's remembering like things that I went through. But there are other characters that are not me and did not go through the exact same things that I went through in life, but the things that I make them go through are still horrible. And it's really upsetting writing those scenes. So where I was like, how hard was it? Because I don't, it's hard for me to do that for my characters. And I asked, like, is there a balance or a payoff to tormenting him so early on in the series? And he mentioned like how he tortures him because Grimsby is mostly based off of him. And I was just like, oh no. Like, no, don't do that to yourself. Oh. Like, okay. I mean, I kind of relate in a way, but at the same time, I'm like, no. I'm so sorry. Like, why are you doing that? But at the same time, like, it's good for the story, but at the same time, but I was happy. My like all three of my questions were essentially answered. I mean, the one about Wudge, what the inspiration was for Wudge. Wudge was Wudge. That's gonna make me laugh randomly. Like one day I'm just gonna laugh randomly, and someone's gonna be like, "What is she laughing about?" And I would try to explain and fail miserably. That's why I can never be a comedian, because I would laugh at my own jokes like a weirdo and not be able to explain why. But anyway, it was a really fun event. I love seeing the comments from other people from around the world. So that was pretty awesome. I enjoyed it. I've never been to an event like that before, so I felt excited that I was in a group setting that I can relate to. But yeah, if you haven't seen any of the videos from Powell's, like, definitely go check it out. I mean, I'm gonna have the link to this video from them, but you should check out some of their other stuff. I mean, I'm probably going to be watching a ton more than what I already have, because as soon as I went there, I subscribed. I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much more in here than I thought possible. So I'm going to probably be binging all those videos for the next couple weeks at least. Probably less than a couple weeks if I'm able to manage it. But and then I'm going to have the link again to James J. Butcher's Dead Man's Hand. I posted those links in my review of the book, which I'll also put in there. But if you don't want to go to the other video where those links are, I'll just have the links for our Amazon and Penguin, Random House. There may be other places you can buy it. I haven't really looked into those, but I'll include what I can find. But yeah, I want to talk about my first book event, even though it was virtual, not in person. It still counts. It still counts. But yeah, I was kind of like fangirling a little bit that my questions were actually looked at and answered. So yeah, I was pretty excited about that. It's always exciting whenever you type in a question for a live event, or like, because I've done that for like Instagram and Facebook, where I'll type in a question for someone, um, and they'll answer it, and I get super excited. I'll be like, I don't even remember what I asked, just the fact that they answered, that's awesome. But I actually wrote down the first two questions because I was like, I'm coming prepared for with these questions. And then the last one, I just I typed it as I thought it out, and then I tried to remember what I asked and just wrote it afterwards, literally as soon as they stopped the event and it went blank, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go do this or that. And then I was like, wait, I didn't write down that question, so I did that. But yeah, if you ever get the chance to do an event with Powells, like I didn't know, had no idea that they'd done the whole digital thing and they had that. So definitely check out their YouTube page. I mean, I follow them on Instagram, but I didn't see this event on theirs in Instagram. I saw it in the Jim Butcher news. So, because I also follow that on Instagram. But so I asked them, like, does it cost anything to register? Because I'm kind of tight for money, but I really wanted to go. I really wanted to, attend. They said, nope, it's free to register. I was like, yes. And then I registered right away. I'm glad that I was well enough and not sick enough, like, to actually attend, and that my boys were actually very good. They did not bother. They didn't come in. They didn't wrestle or cause an injury or anything like that. They were content with their Burger King, which the Burger King was from a gift card that my dad had sent. So I didn't have to pay for anything. Like, if I had to, I would have picked them up right away and made dinner early or something just so I could attend this. But no, I had a gift card, so I used it. So thanks, Dad. I used the gift card, okay? I don't like to buy, fast food often for the boys. I try to stay a little bit healthy with them, but yeah, I used the gift card, and they were content, and they sat on their tablets. I don't care. That's fine. Connor actually was doing like some learning stuff on his tablet, and Alan was teaching him math again, so that's awesome. So my 4.5-year-old's gonna be super smart by the time he gets to kindergarten. He'll know multiplication. 10 times 2 is 20, right, Mommy? Yes, that is correct. Good job. So yeah. So they were definitely occupied. No problems at all. I was like, thank you. Like, the stars aligned for this book event. My kids were happy, contented, didn't cause any issues for each other, didn't come running in screaming, Mommy, 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 brother's bleeding because he did something. And I'm like, nope, none of that. None of that. So I got to sit there. I got to write on my little pad of paper, and I got to ask questions, and I got to interact with people in the chat. It was really awesome. So if you haven't done any kind of event like that, just do it. It's awesome. I mean, if you're able to go in person for that kind of stuff, great. I definitely would not be able to, because they're on the complete opposite coast from where I'm at. So I was really glad for the virtual event experience. But yeah, I was just excited. My first book event, even, it's virtual, but it still counts. It's still awesome. And yeah. Okay, I'm done being a complete dorky nerd weirdo, okay? Just go to the links, and definitely subscribe to Powell's, and definitely subscribe to Jim Butcher News and James J. Butcher and all that stuff. And if you haven't read the book yet, it is awesome, okay? I promise you, it is awesome. They kept posting links in the chat, like Powell's kept posting links in the chat too, by his book. And I thought it's funny because I was like, don't most of us like have the book or read the book? I guess not. That's fine. If you just decide to go to the event and haven't had the book yet or read the book yet, haven't bought the book yet, anyway. just go. Do the things, click the links and the stuff. Okay. I'll see you guys later. All right, bye.